Hi guys. So the Lord Chancellor was interviewed by Sky News about whether he would resign over Boris Johnson's illegal bill. So let's hear what he had to say.
We were just talking about trust there. Of course, a big part of the UK's future outside of the EU will be striking trade deals, agreements with other countries. We've just gone back on a deal that we struck less than a year ago. Why should anyone trust us?
What we're doing, Sophie, is making sure that if the joint committee negotiations about the protocol fail, and there's still a way to go when it comes to that, we have an insurance policy here.
No, but they're not going to fail because you've already signed up to them. You've already agreed to the withdrawal agreement. This was Boris Johnson's oven-ready deal. I said at the time, this is not an oven-ready deal. This is the withdrawal agreement. Although Boris Johnson didn't want to call it the withdrawal agreement, he wanted to call it an oven-ready deal. And he ran a campaign, an election campaign. He won the election because of his friggin' oven-ready deal. Now, in the oven-ready deal, or the withdrawal agreement, there is Article 10 on state aid. This is what the UK has a problem with. Ironically, because the UK was one of the driving forces when it was a member of the EU, to have state aid rules, because they didn't like other countries giving state aid to their private companies. So they were one of the driving forces behind this. Now that the UK have changed their mind and said, we'd actually like to provide subsidies to certain companies in the UK, perhaps companies that donate to the party, I don't know. Now they're saying we actually have a problem with it. But you can't have a problem with it because you signed up to it. This was part of the withdrawal agreement, Article 10. Of course, they're trying to change the position by introducing new language, saying it's about sovereignty, it's about protecting the Union, about protecting Northern Ireland. This is a pile of crap. The UK want certain concessions from the EU on trade, but these concessions come into conflict with the withdrawal agreement. That's why this bill is illegal.
Here in the UK, to make sure that any conflicts, any disagreements are not against the interests of the internal market of the United Kingdom, the sovereignty of our own country.
But your internal, so you've introduced a bill and you're saying we want to protect the sovereignty of the UK, whatever. Okay. But domestic law cannot trump international law.
This isn't something that we do lightly. This isn't something that we actually want to have to use. This is something that a responsible government does in order to prepare.
Boris Johnson's government is responsible? When did that happen?
For the worst. But can I reiterate our steely determination to get a deal, not just the free trade deal, but the agreement on the protocol to make sure that it works in the interests of the Republic of Ireland, in the interests of the United Kingdom, and most importantly, in the interests of all the peoples of Northern Ireland.
What I'm trying to get my head around is why you need an insurance policy for your own insurance policy. Because if the deal is so bad, why did Boris Johnson come on this show and describe it as fantastic? Why did he go into an election campaign with it front and centre of that campaign? Was he lying when he said it was a good deal, or did he just not understand it?
Well, Sophie, I caught most of what you said there due to passing traffic, but I think what you said is, why are we putting an insurance policy on an insurance, a backstop on a backstop?
My question, I'll repeat the question.
Isn't it sort of convenient that Tory ministers are being interviewed along the side of the road so they can avoid say, I didn't hear that question, I'm sorry. Wouldn't it be better to interview them inside, maybe even in a bus shelter, because they wouldn't be able to avoid these questions?
Boris Johnson said that the withdrawal agreement was a fantastic deal. He told me that. He went into an election campaign using on that deal. So when he's now saying that it's a bad deal, that you need an insurance policy against it, was he lying when he said the withdrawal agreement was a good deal, or did he just not understand it?
I think probably both. Boris Johnson, of course, didn't read the withdrawal agreement. Why would he do that? He doesn't care. He just says, "Can this keep me in my position in number 10?" And his advisors say, "Yes, probably. Okay, let's go with it." But there are certain things that I don't care what's in it. Just, will it help me stay in power? Yes. Okay, then that's enough for me.
No, what we're doing is preparing for the eventuality, which we hope will not come to pass, of a failure by the joint committee that was set up under the protocol.
But what are you talking about? She asked a specific question. Boris Johnson said this is a good deal. He ran he had his manifesto, basically get Brexit done, and this is the deal to get Brexit done. Now he's coming back and saying, actually, the deal that I sold to the public, has a few flaws in it. And we've only discovered the flaws now, months and months after actually presenting it to the Parliament. Almost a year, well, a good bit short of a year, after we presented it to the public. Now we found a problem with it. The EU don't have a problem with it. You have a problem with it. And now you're saying we need to roll back parts of it.
Protocol to come to an agreement as to how to operate it. We're going to exhaust all those means in order to make sure that the protocol works. There are mechanisms that the Joint Committee can invoke that we will follow through with.
See, the problem is there is no problem. The problem is that there's no problem with the withdrawal agreement, because both sides signed up to it. The problem is that some people within the Conservative Party have a problem with the withdrawal agreement, and now they're putting pressure on Boris Johnson to remove those. In particular, state aid is probably the biggest one. And you can't do that. It's like if I buy a mobile phone contract, and then later I decide, there's actually section 27 of this mobile phone contract that I don't like, and then I disrespect that, what will happen? I'll be taken to court and I will be punished.
But if that fails, if we are left by the end of the year with an unresolved position, it's our obligation to do something to make sure that we are prepared. We could have just pretended that all was going to be well, avoided the issue, kicked the can down the road as...
But you signed up to this. I'm sorry to be repeating myself all the time, but he's just using flowery language to avoid the real problem here. The UK signed up to the withdrawal agreement, put it through Parliament, and didn't allow members of Parliament to read it because they knew probably that they would disagree with it, principally Brexiteers. Even though Boris Johnson had his majority, they were afraid that it may not pass if members of Parliament were actually able to read it. What does that tell you about what Boris Johnson came back with? They're very quick to criticise Theresa May, but Theresa May's government actually did most of the heavy lifting on the negotiations of the withdrawal agreement. Boris Johnson jumped in at the last minute and said, yeah, we'll use it, we'll copy and paste it, and we'll delete a few parts, thinking that they can get away with it. And now you have the Lord Chancellor basically presenting a word salad to get around the actual question of, yes, Boris Johnson, just answer the freaking question. Did Boris Johnson lie to the public? Yes, he did. Or did Boris Johnson not bother to read the withdrawal agreement? No, he didn't bother to read it.
Perhaps we used to do, but that would have been an irresponsible approach. We need to be upfront about...
How can you say irresponsible and then say we're going to break the law? How can you say we don't want to be irresponsible, so we're going to break the law? You are I don't know, I assume he's a lawyer or he has some legal background. How can he say that?
About the potential problem that could arise. We're doing that, and that's why those clauses have been included.
I mean, we're talking here about joint committees, protocols, mechanisms, but really it strikes me that what's happened is actually very simple. The government's trying to override a deal that it struck less than a year ago. Now, as Lord Chancellor, you took an oath to protect the rule of law. And yet this week, the Northern Ireland Secretary, Brandon Lewis, told the House of Commons that the government is intending to break, or the internal market bill does break international law in a very specific and limited way. Are you going to resign?
It's not a question about me or...
Look, I have nothing to do with this. I'm just the Lord Chancellor, okay? You know, you might as well just bring on Matt Hancock and say, Matt Hancock, are you going to resign off of this? No, there is a little bit of a difference.
My position, the whole government is actually committed to the rule of law. I, as Lord Chancellor, of course, speak more chiefly for the government on those general issues. And I can assure you that what we are doing is in accordance with, I think, actually the most honourable traditions of the British state. Which...
He didn't say it's illegal. He's not saying, no, Sophie, it's not illegal. It's completely legal. He's trying to create, you know, it's within the spirit of democracy. That's what we're doing. But is it illegal? It's a beautiful thing. It's looking after peace in Northern Ireland. Yes, but is it illegal? Boris Johnson is such a great leader.
Which is to alert everyone to the possibility of a problem, to actually legislate, prepare ourselves domestically for that, but to make the point that we're not at that stage yet, and we don't have to be. If all parties come together and work with a will to get these provisions...
So finally he has said something, a little nugget of truth in all of this. So the UK hasn't actually broken the law yet. What they're doing is they're intending to break the law. Now, I'm not saying that that doesn't have any consequences. It has massive consequences for the UK's reputation. But they've told the EU, we're going to break the law by passing this bill. Now, this bill may not actually pass. There's a rebellion building at the moment within the Conservative Party against this bill. And there's a risk that the bill will not pass through the House of Lords. Or it will, at least, if it does pass, it'll be greatly watered down. There may be many amendments will be added. So technically he's right saying he hasn't said we haven't broken the law. He's basically saying we haven't broken the law yet. And there is a difference there. There is a legal difference, but politically it's extremely damaging to say we're willing to break the law.
Agreed that we won't need these clauses at all. That's the government's sincere wish. We are 100% committed to these negotiations. We're going to press on with them. And
how can you say you're 100% behind these negotiations when you're saying we're willing to break the law if we don't get what we want?
Till the end, but at the same time we have to be upfront and honest that there could be a conflict. And can I say this, Sophie, if there is a conflict between domestic and international law, as a government we will seek to resolve that conflict as quickly as possible, as we have done in other instances where our domestic law has come into conflict. Or
you created this conflict. It's not like there was a law on the books and there was an international law introduced and oh wait a minute, these two laws come into conflict. No, there was international law that you signed up to, and then you created a new law that was in conflict with the international law. What he's trying to present it as, well, you know, we've had this law. He's pointing to other precedents and said, you know, in the past we've had domestic law that came into conflict with international law. But this is different because you knew you were breaking the law and you're still going ahead with introducing this legislation. You can't say that. You can't present it as, well, this is a normal routine of government. No, it's not.
Or dislocation with international law obligations.
But the conflict is there because of a deal that you negotiated and told us all was fantastic. And I just want to go back to what Brandon Lewis said, because he said that the Internal Market Bill does break international law in a very specific and limited way. You took an oath to uphold the rule of law. So if the government breaks the law, will you resign?
If we get to the stage where we have a conflict of laws, it is the duty of the government to seek...
Just answer the frigging question. Of course, he's a politician, so he's incapable of answering a question straight. If the government breaks the law, will you resign? Yes or no? You can add, yes, I will, but, or no, I won't, but, and then add some sort of caveat if you want. But he's avoiding the question completely, which means, no, he will not.
To resolve that. This isn't an unprecedented situation. The circumstances within which we are now find ourselves are, of course, unprecedented. But no government has ever had to face the job of disentangling Britain's relationship with the EU. This is totally new ground. I think it's up to us all in government to plot a way through this that makes sure that if conflicts arise, if differences arise, if there is a dislocation, then we should seek to resolve that. But make no mistake, we are absolutely committed to getting the joint committee negotiations resolved, and that we hope that these provisions will never ever have to be used. That's my belief, and that's the belief of the government.
This is extremely frustrating because he's just avoiding the real issue here. Yes, we're committed to getting a deal. We're committed to upholding the law. We're committed to working within the mechanisms. This is a pile of crap. Once again, the UK signed up to something, the withdrawal agreement. Now they're having problems with it and they're trying to wriggle their way out. And in one part, they're being honest by saying, yes, we're going to break international law. And then now this is damage control. They're sending the Lord Chancellor out, try to explain away us breaking the law. Yes, because we want to have a deal and we're determined to have a deal and we need to have this mechanism in place because we need to protect Northern Ireland and we're looking out also for the Republic of Ireland. A big pile of crap. He's been rolled out on TV to find a way around us basically saying, yes, we're breaking the law. Once again, as I said before, there's a chance that there may be a rebellion against this bill in Parliament. I hope that's the case. Really, how it's possible that the government are saying, yes, we're going to break international law, and there are members of Parliament who say, yes, I'm on board with that. How that's possible, I don't know. So I hope there is a sizable rebellion against this. I hope it gets watered down through amendments. And finally, I hope that it gets kicked right in the face, in the ass, whatever you want to say, by the House of Lords. Because it has there's no right for a government to introduce legislation that breaks international law. This, once again, is an attempt by Boris Johnson to appease Brexiteers, and he doesn't care whether he breaks the law or not. This is about Boris Johnson maintaining his position, as always. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?